because spring training is a time when fans regularly suspend reality and dream that for their team, anything is possible in the season to come. As evidence that sometimes those dreams actually do come true, we happily present the story of Stevie Delabar. Delabar is a pitcher in the Seattle Mariners organization, and although he's no kid, he's only now enjoying his first ever Major League spring training camp. As our Mary Carrillo reports, how Delabar got there is the stuff of which Hollywood films are made. For every player who makes it to the majors, there are thousands for whom the dream dies long before they want it to. They play the game until their bodies won't let them continue, or until someone says they're just not good enough anymore. Stevie Delabar hadn't made it to America's great ballparks. Far from it. He played baseball for a living in cities like Florence, Kentucky, Lake Elsinore, California, and Fort Wayne, Indiana. He never climbed out of the lowest level of the minor leagues. And for 6 years, Delabar loved every minute. Then one day in Brockton, Massachusetts, it ended. Just like that.
I felt a huge pop. And I said, that's it right there. So, went in the dugout. It seemed like there was an alien coming out of my arm.
Delabar's elbow was broken so badly, doctors needed 9 screws and a metal plate to repair the damage. It took him a while to accept the reality, but soon enough it started to dawn on Delabar that he could no longer be who he had always been.
I was out of the game. I thought, I'm 27, and I'm like, who's going to take a guy who's 27, never made it above A-ball?
So Delabar made the hardest decision of his life. He retired from the game and started down a new path.
And I was like, this is it. I'm going to school. I'm finishing school. Got to get on with my life. This is a new chapter.
Delabar went home to Kentucky and got a real job. He was a substitute teacher at a local high school and an assistant coach for the baseball team. It wasn't the same, of course, but he figured at least he was still around the game. And just so he could teach the latest training methods to his players, Delabar started an odd new strengthening program that was just beginning to be offered at a local baseball facility.
But I wanted to learn the program, to teach the program.
So you didn't think you were applying it to yourself, to your own baseball career?
No, it was geared toward the kids.
But a funny thing happened along the way. Doing the program, Stevie Delabar's arm began to feel good again. Before long, as good as ever. Delabar began testing himself using a radar gun to measure his arm strength and could barely believe what it told him.
I initially tested at 89. The second test was a consistent 93. I'd never been consistent 93 ever. I'm like, hey, this is legit. This is happening. Then I retest again 4 weeks later, and numbers skyrocket, 95, 96.
Here you are, plate in your elbow, screws, holding that in, and now you're throwing the ball better than you ever have?
Ever. And arm feels amazing.
We're sitting there going, okay, this guy should not be doing this right here. This shouldn't be happening.
Jamie Evans and Tom House had gotten word that an old broken-down pitcher was thriving with the offbeat training program they'd invented, a program based on the use of weighted balls, ranging from 2 pounds to 2 ounces.
6 ounce, guys. 6 ounce, please.
House is a former Major League pitcher and coach who has long been considered one of the game's most innovative teachers.
The football is a real good device to help maintain strength and keep mechanics sound.
Evans is a coach in Maryland and is affiliated with the training facility in Kentucky where Delabar worked out.
The best he ever threw when he was healthy beforehand was 92. Now he's showing 94s and 95s, and I call Tom and go, okay, this is what I got going on. You tell me what you think.
I didn't believe him.
Yeah.
When you sent me whatever it was with his elbow and all the...
Yeah.
I said...
Oh, you saw the picture of his elbow?
Yeah. No friggin' way.
It looks like Humpty Dumpty was put back together again. Yeah. It's just completely a mess when you look at it.
But Stevie Delabar had become a believer. His wife, Jamie, an English teacher at the high school, started to see just where this might be headed.
And he would come home and say, guess how hard I threw? Guess how hard I threw? And in the back of my mind, I'm knowing he wants to go back. He wants to do this again. And I would just say, oh, that's great. That's awesome how hard you threw. And I never said anything, but I knew that he wanted to go back.
And then it happened.
A regional scout for the Seattle Mariners got a tip about Delabar's shocking progress and wanted to come watch him throw.
I actually call our high school catcher. I call him. I get him out of school the next day.
Nice teacher.
Yeah, I get him out of school, and he's pumped up. To get, he's catching me.
How well did you throw that day?
I was 94, 95, 96. I think I might have had a couple 97s in there. It was a really, really good, tryout.
Good enough, it turned out. The Mariners took a flyer on Delabar and signed him to a deal. That was the good news. The bad news? He had to go back to Single A, the level Delabar had never been able to graduate from before he broke his elbow. As far as he'd come, he was still a 1,000,000-to-1 shot.
There was one point where I had a rough game, and I'm thinking, am I wasting my time? So I had to actually, sit back and think, should I continue going? Then I string together a few good ones. And then they said, hey, you're going to Double A. And I'm thinking, this is great.
Stretching Delabar. Here's the 0-2 pitch on the way. Swing and a miss! He struck him out!
August 6th, they called me in. They say, you're going to AAA. I said, sweet.
Delabar trying to close out the top of the ninth. This pitch is a swing and a miss, strike 3, and the inning is over.
The minor league season ended on Labor Day weekend, and right after his last AAA game for the Tacoma Rainiers, Delabar was called into the manager's office for a meeting.
And he goes, well, tell me what you were doing at this point last year. I said, I was a substitute teacher. I was going to school, trying to finish my degree. I was a college or high school baseball coach. I was playing softball. And I was back home. He goes, well, that's the best part about my job, being able to tell guys like you that you can go to the big leagues. And it was awesome.
When you were detailing to him what you had been doing a year earlier, I mean, it must have been occurring to you that your entire life has changed.
Yeah, it did. First, he told me, I gave him a big hug, and then I started making phone calls.
Who was your first phone call?
First phone call was my wife. I couldn't hold it together. I lost. I don't think it changes any time I tell the story.
She was probably doing some of this too, huh?
Oh, yeah. So, I called her and I said, I'm going to the big leagues. And she said, she was so excited. She started crying. And it's something you always, grow up and you expect to do. But when it happens, it's awesome. And then I called my dad. I lost it there too. And then I probably cried all night.
As Delabar's family and friends in Kentucky tried to process what was happening,
Give me a 95, Anthony.
House and Evans were trying to figure out if Delabar's success was a fluke, whether their little experiment might actually be working.
That's it.
By this point, they'd spread the gospel of the new program to hundreds of kids at a few different facilities around the country, and they kept hearing the same thing.
Everybody throws harder and gets healthier. It scares
everybody.
Everybody. 800 plus kids. Everybody's fastball, male, female, young, old. Everybody's fastball gets better, and they're healthier. We haven't had one injury. It's too good to be true. And you know what they say about too good to be true? There's something wrong. We can't find anything wrong yet.
I'm calling it a dream maker.
But why? What makes this program different from all the others? Baseball coaches have been tinkering with weighted balls for decades.
Arm speed, guys. Arm speed.
House himself has been trying to solve the riddle of keeping pitchers healthy for more than 30 years, using fancy tools like motion analysis. House says his big breakthrough, one he thinks gave Stevie Delabar's arm new life, happened by accident. One day, here at USC about 2 years ago, House was studying, of all things, my sport, tennis.
Now, I stole something from tennis.
Leasing my sport from
Without a doubt. We figured out that tennis players very seldom have bad shoulders. Bad elbows, but very seldom bad shoulders.
Why?
Because they hang on to the racket. the physical act of serving a tennis ball and pitching a ball are very similar. So I'm thinking, okay, why are these guys healthy and our guys are not? Because they hang on to the racket.
So in the training program, instead of just throwing various weighted balls, House and Evans designed exercises where players also hold on to the balls. Throws, House explains, work the front side of the shoulder. Holds work the back of the shoulder. The result, they say, is a stronger and healthier shoulder because it is more balanced. The kicker? Velocity goes up.
Steve Delabar, the rookie, warming up the Mariner pen.
The phone in the bullpen in Seattle is a blood-curdling ring. I mean, when it goes off, it gives anybody the jitters.
28-year-old will take over in relief. He was a substitute teacher earlier this year back home in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, coaching high school baseball. He's also playing some slow-pitch softball. And he makes his major league debut this afternoon.
I'm excited. Heart starts racing. I mean, it's pumping. I don't hear anything. I don't see. I mean, I'm locked in.
Delabar's first pitch of the big leagues is swinging a foul, tip into the glove of Jimenez, and it's 0-1 on Escobar. He's got a plate in his elbow and 9 screws. He showed me the x-rays of his elbow. Looked like a Home Depot project. Fly ball into right center field.
So I get the first guy out. That first out is big. Well, the next guy comes up, and I get a strike. You know, I strike him out.
Fastball, swing and a miss, strike 3. 96-mile-an-hour fastball. So 2 up and 2 down. No wonder the Mariners signed this guy. And the 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Melky Cabrera goes down swinging.
So Steve Delabar, who prior to this season had never pitched above A ball, makes his big league debut, retires the Royals in order in the 9th inning, striking out 2.
I had 50 text messages and everybody from back home just, I mean, jumping up and down and excited. It was a pretty good, pretty awesome feeling.
3 days later, the Yankees came to Seattle, and 3 time zones away, in the top of the 12th inning of a tie game, Delabar's wife was asleep. It was, after all, a school night.
And all of a sudden, my phone starts going crazy. Stevie's in the game, Stevie's in the game. I'm like, okay. So I wake up, and I'm like, that is my husband on ESPN. And I couldn't believe it.
The Mariners and the Yankees are all tied, and right now the fate of this ball game is in the hands of 28-year-old rookie right-hander Steve Delabar.
Delabar retired 3 out of the 4 men he faced in the 12th and didn't give up a run. If the Mariners could score in the bottom of the inning, Delabar would get the win.
We come in, and I'm thinking, I can get a win here.
This is Luis Rodriguez leading off an inning.
And I'm like, come on, Louis, get him. And then I put my head down, and it was like 2 pitches later, whack. And I'm like, oh, yes.
Oh, baby! In the 12th inning! And Steve Delabar has his first Major League victory.
So he goes from being a substitute teacher
to winning the game against the New York Yankees.
It doesn't even sound like a real story.
No, it doesn't. And it doesn't even feel real. I mean, when people ask us, it doesn't feel real. This is my life.
There's a picture of all of us jumping, and I'm right in the middle of it. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. It was, I guess you couldn't even written it, you couldn't have written a better story.
Mary, how much does Stevie worry that his elbow, as easily as it blew out the first time, could blow out again?
I think that's why he quit in the first place. He took a look at it, a good hard look, and his doctors, when he had come out of that original elbow surgery, and he said to the doctor, when can I pitch again? They looked at me and said, like, does this guy really think he's getting back in?
Yeah,
he rested for almost 2 years. So by the time he came back, I think he was just, he didn't do it, he wasn't looking to get back. So now he feels he's much stronger, much fitter than he ever has been. He's throwing, this spring he's been throwing 94, 95, 96 miles an hour, a speed he's never owned before.
So how does he figure in Seattle's plans for the coming year? Will he make the big club when they break camp?
He leaves for Japan on Thursday of this week, and they're going up against the A's. He's been pitching pretty well. He got lit up a little bit by the Chicago Cubs, by your team, just yesterday.
That doesn't bode well.
But I think that he's optimistic. I really do. He's a nice guy. He works very, very hard.
Have they given him a major league contract, or is he still working off the old deal?
He's got pretty much what's the minimum contract these days,
Yeah.
you know, close to $500,000. But then if he's got to go back down to the minors, it gets adjusted quickly to $78,000. I didn't recognize until I hung out with these guys that a 2 mile an hour difference is huge. I mean, you go from making $50,000 a year to $5 million a year.
Is it true that tennis players don't get bad shoulders?
It's pretty. I thought that part of it was fascinating. Everybody gets injuries, but consider, you know, Andy Roddick, it's long been said that guy's going to blow out his shoulder because of how hard he tries to serve. But what these guys, what Tom House and the other guys are saying is that people consider pitching to be this unnatural, violent act, but men have been throwing rocks at rabbits for dinner for thousands of years, and the feeling is that they really feel that the new normal can be 100-mile-an-hour fastballs.
Andy hasn't blown out his shoulder just his career.
He's struggling a little bit. He's
All right,
struggling.
Mary, thank you.
Sure.